The Value of Overcoming Adversity. The Story of Wilma Rudolph by Anne Donegan Johnson. Once upon a time, not so long ago, on June 23rd, 1940, Wilma Rudolph came into the world 2 months before she was expected. She weighed only 4½ pounds. Such tiny babies often died in those days. Not only was Wilma small, but she was also sickly. Besides that, she was the 20th of 22 children in a poor black family living in the segregated South. The Rudolphs were hard-working people who refused to accept welfare. Their crowded home had no indoor bathroom. Mrs. Rudolph sewed the children's clothes from old flour sacks. Although the family was poor, there was always plenty of love to go around. The Rudolphs often couldn't afford to take Wilma to a doctor, so Mrs. Rudolph nursed her through measles, mumps, chicken pox, and colds with home remedies she cooked on the stove. When she was 4 years old, Wilma came down with double pneumonia. Before she could get over that, she caught scarlet fever, a dangerous infection that often weakens the heart. Wilma had a very high fever and could barely breathe. Her family was worried. Would Wilma live? Somehow, the little girl pulled through, only to be stricken with polio. Before a vaccine was developed in 1954, polio paralyzed many children. The polio twisted and weakened one of Wilma's legs. To walk, she had to wear a heavy metal leg brace. The doctor told the Rudolphs, "Wilma will probably never walk without a brace." But the Rudolphs would not give up. Every week, Mrs. Rudolph took Wilma 60 miles on the bus to Nashville for special treatments. Other hospitals were closer, but the Meharry Medical College was the nearest one that accepted black people as patients. Wilma liked the trips, though, because they gave her a chance to see the world beyond her cozy home. Because they were black, 6-year-old Wilma and her mother had to ride at the back of the bus. As the slow miles blurred past the bus window, Wilma dreamed about being able to walk, and about living in a world without racial prejudice. Wilma's treatments included warm whirlpool baths, massage, and exercises designed to strengthen her weak leg. The exercises were difficult and painful, but Wilma's family encouraged her to keep trying. Mrs. Rudolph learned how to massage Wilma's leg just the way the doctors did. Then she taught Wilma's older brothers and sisters. They massaged her leg several times each day. Still, there were many times when Wilma was alone, unable to play with other children. She could not help feeling sad. One day, Wilma was crying when a mosquito landed on her arm. Several times she tried to kill it, but the mosquito kept buzzing away. Wilma kept swatting, and the mosquito kept escaping. Finally, Wilma got so angry she screamed. Then an amazing thing happened. The mosquito said, "Good girl!" Wilma was completely confused. "You were sad, but now you're mad. If you keep this up, someday you'll be glad," the mosquito buzzed. Wilma laughed. "What do you mean?" "If you want to get better, you have to fight your illness. You have to overcome adversity," said the mosquito. "What's adversity?" Wilma wondered. "It's something that's difficult, an obstacle to overcome. Like being sick," the mosquito said. "My name is Skeeter," her tiny companion continued, "and I'd like to be your friend." From then on, Wilma was never alone. Of course, no one else could see Skeeter, because he was really just an imaginary friend. Skeeter stayed with Wilma even when she finally started school at the age of 7. Some children teased Wilma because she wore a leg brace. Skeeter buzzed. "Work hard, and someday you'll show them all. You'll walk without a brace. You'll even run." Wilma worked hard on her leg exercises. Finally, one fine Sunday, when she was 10 years old, Wilma walked down the aisle at her church without wearing a leg brace. It wasn't a long walk, but it was a start. Wilma's smile was brighter than the sun. "I knew you could do it," Skeeter buzzed. "Let's see what other obstacles you can overcome." Sometimes Wilma wondered why her life was so filled with obstacles. "I'm tired," she told Skeeter, "and my leg aches." "Don't waste time feeling sorry for yourself," Skeeter replied. "Just try harder." And that's just what Wilma did. By the time she was 12, Wilma no longer needed her leg brace at all. She watched happily as her mother sent the brace back to the hospital. Now that she could walk, Wilma wanted to run and play. At 13, she joined the Burt High basketball and track teams. Wilma loved basketball, but the coach didn't want to let such a skinny, sickly girl play. "I might as well not be on the team," she told Skeeter. Skeeter buzzed. "Sitting on the bench is an obstacle you can overcome by watching the other players and learning all you can. Then, when the coach gives you your chance—" "I'll show him!" Wilma exclaimed. And that's just what she did. In her first game, Wilma didn't miss a single shot. Wherever the ball bounced, there was Wilma. She scored 32 points and helped Burt High win the game. Wilma's coach could hardly believe his eyes. He said, "That skinny little girl is buzzing all over the court like a mosquito." That's how Wilma got the nickname Skeeter. Only Wilma and her imaginary friend knew how funny that was. From that day on, Wilma was a star player at Burt High. Her team went to the state tournament in Nashville. The referee that day was a Tennessee State University track coach named Ed Temple. He coached TSU's famous women's track team, the Tiger Bells. Temple often went to high school games hoping to find talented young athletes. One look at Wilma and he knew she could be a great runner. Wilma had never been serious about running track before. But now she whispered to Skeeter, "If I become a Tiger Belle, I might be able to go to college on a scholarship. Wouldn't that be great?" Skeeter agreed. So Wilma ran in many informal races. She always won. Wilma had a great natural talent. Her long legs helped, too. At age 15, she had almost reached her adult height of 6 feet. But Wilma soon found out that there was more to running than talent and long legs. In 1956, she attended her first formal track meet in Alabama. Wilma was competing against trained college athletes. Though she didn't know many running techniques and was still in high school, Wilma thought she could win easily. Instead, she lost every race. "I might as well give up," she sighed. Skeeter laughed. "I know you better than that. Wilma Rudolph doesn't just give up. She tries harder." That summer, Mr. Temple invited Wilma to train with the Tiger Bells at TSU. He was a tough coach, but Wilma knew how to work hard. She learned about stretching, starting, pacing, controlled breathing, and other skills a runner needs in order to win. In August, Wilma attended a track meet in Philadelphia. It was her first trip north. Philadelphia was big and bustling, and the stadium looked enormous. "I'm scared," Wilma confessed to Skeeter. Her secret friend replied, "Just do your best." And that's what Wilma did. She won the 75 and 100-yard dashes, then helped her relay team to victory. Jackie Robinson himself congratulated Wilma. He told her never to give up on her running. Wilma was deeply moved. Jackie Robinson was one of her heroes. He was the first Black American to play in Major League Baseball. Wilma whispered to Skeeter, "Maybe someday I'll be a hero like him." The mosquito buzzed. "I bet you will, if you try hard enough." After more hard work, 16-year-old Wilma and the Tiger Bells qualified for the 1956 Olympics in Melbourne, Australia. Clarksville store owners donated new clothes and luggage for Wilma to take on her trip. Wilma flew in a plane for the first time and saw a world full of exotic places and people. It was just like Wilma's dreams on the bus to Nashville. In the Olympic Village, people only cared about how fast Wilma could run, not what color skin she had. But as the big day drew near, Wilma missed Coach Temple. He hadn't been able to join the Tiger Bells on this trip. Wilma felt afraid. Wilma placed third in her first qualifying heat. In the semifinals, she also placed third. Unfortunately, only the first 2 runners could go on to the finals. Wilma had failed to qualify. "I've let everyone down, the whole United States," she told her secret friend. "I'm afraid to run in the relay." Skeeter buzzed. "Fear is just another obstacle. You can get over it if you try." Wilma had one more chance to prove herself at that Olympics, the 400-meter relay race. The American team wasn't expected to win or even to place. In practice, the Tiger Bells had been having trouble passing the baton, which is the trickiest part of running a relay. The day of the race, all the Tiger Bells were nervous, but their team captain, May Faggs, said, "Let's give it all we've got. Let's win ourselves a medal." And that's just what they did. Wilma was very happy to have helped her team win a bronze medal for third place, but she wanted more. "Next time," she told Skeeter, "I'm going for the gold." Wilma returned to Clarksville in a triumph, but soon faced tragedy. On the way home from the junior-senior prom, Wilma's best girlfriend was killed in a car accident. Wilma had never lost anyone she loved before. "Skeeter, I can't go on," Wilma cried. Skeeter said gently, "Your own emotions can be an obstacle if you let them. Would your friend want you to give up?" Wilma knew her friend would have wanted her to keep running, so she wiped away her tears and got on with her training. A year later, Wilma graduated from Burt High. The following fall, she entered Tennessee State University on a full athletic scholarship. "I'm a Tiger Bell!" Wilma shouted. "I knew you could do it," Skeeter buzzed. "Now all you have to do is win for your team, train for the Olympics, and maintain at least a B average." Wilma chuckled. "That's a pretty tall order." Now it was Skeeter's turn to laugh. "You're a pretty tall girl." Wilma ran well as a freshman, but in her sophomore year, she suddenly started losing races. "What's wrong with me?" Wilma wondered. Then the team doctor discovered that she had a tonsil infection that kept coming back. He said, "Those tonsils will have to come out." So Wilma had a tonsillectomy. "Don't worry," Skeeter told her. "It's just another obstacle to get over. Besides, don't you love having ice cream for breakfast?" Soon Wilma was winning races again. In August 1960, Wilma won the 100 and 200-meter dashes to qualify for the U.S. Olympic team. 3 other Tiger Bells qualified too, so the well-trained team would be together for the 400-meter relay race. Best of all, Ed Temple had been chosen to coach the U.S. Olympic women's track team. Wilma was thrilled. This time, Coach Temple would be with the Bells at the games in Rome. But just 2 days before the qualifying events at the Olympics, Wilma twisted her ankle. The doctor told her to rest it. Wilma struggled to stay calm. "Oh, Skeeter, after all this work, I can't miss the Olympics." Skeeter buzzed around Wilma's sore ankle. "You heard the doctor. Rest." So Wilma passed the time by talking to old Olympic friends and by making new ones. Everyone loved Wilma because Wilma loved each of them. The 100-meter dash was on a straight, smooth track. The doctor said Wilma could run. Wilma won the qualifying heat, then stretched out on the infield to wait for the next race. To the amazement of the other athletes, she fell asleep. Skeeter buzzed in Wilma's ear. "I've heard of being calm, but this is ridiculous." During the semifinals, Wilma ran even faster. She tied the world's record of 11.3 seconds. In the finals, Wilma ran even faster than that. The crowd cheered wildly as she flew down the 100 meters of track in just 11 seconds flat. She had won her first Olympic gold medal. This would have been a world record time, except that the wind behind Wilma was just a bit stronger than is allowed for world records. In the first qualifying heat for the 200-meter race, Wilma matched the Olympic record of 23.2 seconds. In the finals, she won her second gold medal. Next came the 400-meter relay. In the qualifying heats, the Tiger Bells set a new world record. But Wilma's ankle hurt from running on the curved track. "My ankle can't give out now," she whispered to Skeeter. Wilma's secret friend felt almost as nervous as she did. But he buzzed, "I believe in you, and you should too." Wilma watched the first two Tiger Bells run their laps of the race. Though the U.S. team wasn't expected to win, the Bells took the lead. Then the third Tiger Bell tried to pass the baton, and Wilma fumbled. She almost dropped the baton. As she struggled to recover, Wilma felt runners whoosh past her. She panicked. "Oh no!" But Skeeter buzzed, "It's only another obstacle for you to overcome." Wilma clutched the baton and ran. Fast. Wilma ran so fast, she didn't just catch up to the other runners. She beat them across the finish line. Wilma had won a third gold medal and helped the Tiger Bell 400-meter relay team set a new world record of 44.5 seconds. "Oh, Skeeter, I'm so proud," Wilma gasped. Her tiny friend beamed. "You should be." Suddenly, Wilma was the most famous female athlete in the world. The press called her the Tennessee Tornado, and she found herself in a storm of publicity. Everyone wanted to meet Wilma, to take her picture, and to get her autograph. In Rome, Wilma and her teammates even got to meet Pope John XIII. She and Skeeter had never been any place as fancy as the Vatican. Wilma thought the Pope was a jolly fellow. Wilma had certainly come a long way from her little home in Clarksville. But even with all the wonderful things that were happening, Wilma soon had to face a new obstacle. Her teammates were jealous of all the attention she was receiving. Two of them even stopped talking to her. And one night, while they were all getting ready to go to a fancy banquet, the other Tiger Bells hid Wilma's curlers. Wilma's hair looked terrible at the banquet, and that's just what the other Tiger Bells wanted, to make the Tennessee Tornado look as though she'd just walked through a cyclone. Ed Temple was furious with Wilma's teammates, but his stern lecture did no good. The next day, the Bells had a 440-yard relay race. As Wilma waited in position, Her teammates ran the first 3 laps as if they were wearing lead sneakers. She asked Skeeter, "What's going on?" "They think they can make you look bad by losing," Skeeter replied. "But I bet you can overcome that obstacle." Wilma gritted her teeth. She thought so too. When the baton finally came to her, Wilma ran like the wind. She closed a 40-yard gap to win the race. The crowd jumped to its feet and roared. "I did it!" Wilma exclaimed. But Skeeter looked over at the other Tiger Bells. Now they were even madder. Things between Wilma and her teammates would never be the same. When Wilma finally went home, Clarksville welcomed her with a stunning victory celebration. Schools were closed. Drill teams and bands performed. Parachutists from the nearby Army base at Fort Campbell made a special jump in Wilma's honor. A police motorcade drove Wilma and her family through streets crammed with cheering people waving banners. Wilma was touched to see black faces and white faces next to each other in the crowd. Her victory parade was the first integrated event in Clarksville history. At the banquet that night, County Judge William Hudson remarked, "If you want to get good music out of a piano, you have to play both the black and white keys." That was sweet music to Wilma's ears. In just a few days, Wilma was back on the road. People all over the country wanted to congratulate her. President Kennedy himself took time to meet the great Olympic champion. Wilma used her fame to open doors for other female athletes. And just like her hero, Jackie Robinson, Wilma became an inspiration to young Black Americans. Wilma returned to Tennessee State to finish her degree in elementary education. She knew she had to have a career beyond her 3 gold medals. Wilma decided not to train for the next Olympics in 1964. She knew she could not do any better, and she wanted people to remember her victories. But she wondered what would be the right moment to retire from running. In 1962, Wilma attended a big race between Russian and American athletes in Los Angeles. She won the 100-meter dash, then was an anchor for the 400-meter relay. When Wilma received the baton, the Russian anchor was 40 yards in the lead. Wilma poured on the speed and caught up to the surprised runner. And, to the Russian's amazement and the crowd's delight, Wilma passed her to win. When the crowd cheered, Wilma knew she had found her moment. She could retire from running in triumph. Wilma was mobbed by fans. When the crowd thinned, a shy little boy came up to ask for her autograph. Wilma smiled and said, "Son, I'll do better than that." She took off her running shoes, signed them, and gave them to the boy. That was the end of Wilma's career as a runner, and the beginning of new adventures. In 1963, Wilma represented the United States State Department at Africa's largest track event ever, the Games of Friendship, in Dakar, Senegal. After the Games, Wilma toured Africa. Later that year, she went to Japan. That summer, Wilma returned to Clarksville to work as a coach and to teach at her old school, Cobb Elementary. She also married her high school sweetheart, Robert Eldridge. Together, Wilma and Robert raised 4 children: 2 girls, named Yolanda and Joanna, and 2 boys, named Robert and Xuri. Having 6 mouths to feed wasn't always easy, but Wilma knew no obstacle was so great that it couldn't be overcome by a loving family. Wilma helped many children outside her own family. In 1967, she joined Operation Champ, a government program to coach young athletes growing up in America's inner cities. In the years that followed, she traveled the country giving lectures at schools and colleges, and she helped various institutions organize their athletic programs. Later, she started the Wilma Rudolph Foundation, which was dedicated to providing free coaching for kids. One day, Skeeter asked Wilma, "What do you think is your greatest achievement?" Wilma said, "My 3 gold medals, I guess." Skeeter shook his head. "Your triumph is your life. Look at all the obstacles you've overcome. Why don't you tell your story? Maybe you can inspire others to overcome adversity too." And that's just what Wilma did. In 1977, she wrote her autobiography, Wilma, which became a TV movie that same year. In 1994, Wilma faced her final obstacle, brain cancer. As always, she fought bravely, but this time she could not win. Wilma Rudolph died in her home on November 12th at the age of 54. Wilma's race in life wasn't a long one, but she had run it so well that no one who hears her story can ever forget the triumph of her life. Historical facts about Wilma Rudolph. Wilma Glodine Rudolph was born on June 23, 1940, the daughter of Ed and Blanche Rudolph, the 20th of 22 children in the poor black family in Clarksville, Tennessee. Wilma was often sick as a child. At age 4, she came down with double pneumonia and scarlet fever and almost died. When she finally recovered, Wilma was diagnosed with polio. Though doctors did not think Wilma would ever walk again, the Rudolphs did not give up. When Wilma was 6, her mother started taking her to the all-black Meharry Medical College in Nashville for treatments. She also massaged Wilma's leg every day. By age 12, she was out of the brace forever and completely healthy for the first time in her life. In September of 1952, Wilma entered Burt High School and joined the basketball and track teams. She spent most of her first 3 basketball seasons on the bench. In the 10th grade, Wilma finally got to play. She became a star player, helping the Burt High team reach the state tournament in Nashville. At the tournament, Wilma was spotted by Ed Temple, a Tennessee State University track coach. Temple coached the Tiger Bells, one of the best women's track teams in the country. Wilma spent the summer of 1956 at TSU being trained by Coach Temple. In August, she attended an amateur athletic union track meet in Philadelphia. Wilma won the 75 and 100-yard dashes and was part of the winning relay team. From there, Wilma went on to qualify for the Olympics. After training in Los Angeles, Wilma and the rest of the Olympic team flew to Australia for the Summer Games in Melbourne. The 6-foot-tall, 89-pound, 16-year-old helped the relay team win a bronze medal. Wilma went back to Clarksville to graduate from Burt High in 1958. That fall she entered TSU on a full athletic scholarship, studying elementary education and psychology. In September of 1960, Wilma went to the Olympics in Rome. There, she tied the world record of 11.3 seconds in the qualifying race for the 100-meter dash. In the finals, she won her first gold medal. Wilma matched the Olympic record of 23.2 seconds in the qualifying race for the 200-meter dash. In the finals, she left her competitors far behind to win a second gold medal. Just 8 years after giving up her brace for good, Wilma Rudolph was dubbed the fastest woman in history by the press. Then, during her crucial final lap of the 400-meter relay, Wilma almost dropped the baton. By the time she recovered, she was more than 2 meters behind. Wilma poured on the speed to win a third gold medal by a matter of inches and set a new record of 44.5 seconds. In 1962, Wilma retired from running. Soon after, she married her high school sweetheart, Robert Eldridge. Together, they raised 4 children. Wilma received many honors and awards, including having a section of U.S. Route 75 North in Clarksville renamed Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. After a 5-month-long struggle, Wilma died of brain cancer at age 54 on November 12, 1994.